Nathan Pierce drummed his fingers against the railing of the observation deck, watching ships drift through the neon-lit docking rings of Helio Station. The massive space station hung like a jeweled spider in orbit around a gas giant, its countless lights reflecting off the planet's purple storms below. Behind him, the noise of the station's infamous salvage auction filled the air with a cacophony of voices speaking dozens of languages. "Last call for Lot 387, announced the auctioneer's synthesized voice. "Salvaged research vessel, Class C designation, recovered from the outer rim. Minor hull damage, engine salvageable. Opening bid at 50,000 credits." Nathan barely glanced at the holographic display showing the battered ship. He wasn't here for standard salvage. His employer, the reclusive collector Julian Blackwood, had sent him with specific instructions to bid on Lot 394, supposedly an artifact of alien origin found in the same sector. "Sir," a soft voice interrupted his thoughts. Nathan turned to find Reese, his AI assistant, projected beside him. Her holographic form flickered slightly in the station's interference. "Lot 394 is up next." Initial scans matched the energy signatures Mr. Blackwood specified. Nathan nodded, pushing away from the railing. The crowd had thinned considerably, most salvage hunters couldn't afford the high-end lots. Those who remained wore the sharp suits and augmented features of corporate buyers or private collectors. "Lot 394, the auctioneer announced. Unknown vessel of possible pre-collapse origin. Unusual alloy composition. Internal systems inactive but intact." The holographic display shifted to show what appeared to be a sleek silver pod, roughly the size of a small shuttle. Its surface was covered in swirling patterns that seemed to shift and flow even in the static image. Nathan felt his pulse quicken. The design was unlike anything he'd seen in 15 years of collecting artifacts. Definitely not human technology, and not matching any known alien civilizations either. "Opening bid at 200,000 credits, the auctioneer declared. The corporate buyers immediately began their dance, prices climbing rapidly. Nathan held back, watching. Blackwood had authorized him to go as high as 5 million credits, an astronomical sum for salvage, but potentially worth it for genuine alien tech. 2 million from Nova Corporation, the auctioneer called. Nathan raised his hand. 3 million. A murmur went through the crowd. He recognized several of the observers, other collectors' agents who knew his reputation. If Nathan Pierce was bidding this high, the artifact must be significant. 4 million from Stellar Industries. Nathan didn't hesitate. 5 million. The room fell silent. Even the corporate buyers seemed shocked by the price. Nathan kept his expression neutral, though his heart was racing. He'd just committed every credit Blackwood had authorized. 5 million going once, twice. 6 million. The new voice cut through the silence like a knife. Nathan turned to see a woman in a crimson suit step forward from the shadows. Her augmented eyes glowed faintly as she smiled at him. "Ms. Voss," Nathan said quietly. Lyra Voss, Chief Acquisitions Officer for the mysterious Horizon Foundation. Their paths had crossed before, usually ending with Nathan losing valuable artifacts to her seemingly unlimited budget. "Mr. Pierce," she replied. "Surely you're not done already. This piece seems special." Nathan's mind raced. He couldn't go higher without authorization, and contacting Blackwood would take too long. But something about this artifact called to him in a way he couldn't explain. For the first time in his career, he considered defying his employer's explicit instructions. 7 million, he said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. Lyra's smile widened. 8. 10 million. The words left Nathan's mouth before he could stop them. A collective gasp went through the room. Lyra's augmented eyes flared briefly. For a moment, Nathan thought she would counter. Then she gave him a slight bow. "All yours, Mr. Pierce. I hope it's worth it." 10 million going once, twice, sold to Mr. Pierce. Nathan felt slightly dizzy as he authorized the transfer. He'd just spent twice his authorized limit, effectively ending his career with Blackwood. But as he watched the silver pod being loaded onto his ship, those strange patterns still flowing across its surface, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. "Sir," Reese appeared beside him again. "Mr. Blackwood is attempting to contact you." "Block all incoming communications," Nathan ordered. "Plot a course to the outer colonies. Somewhere quiet. The artifact's energy signature is increasing," Reese reported as they boarded. "I'm detecting unusual temporal fluctuations." Nathan placed his hand on the pod's surface. The metal was warm to the touch, and he could have sworn he felt a pulse beneath it, like a heartbeat. "Sir," Reese's voice held an unusual note of concern. "The pattern analysis suggests. I believe something inside is waking up." The pod's surface rippled under Nathan's hand, and for a moment, he glimpsed something through the shifting metal, a face, beautiful and alien, eyes closed as if in sleep. Then the vision was gone, leaving him wondering if he'd imagined it. "Well," he murmured, "let's find out what I just spent 10 million credits on." As his ship broke away from Helio Station, carrying its mysterious cargo into the depths of space, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just set something momentous in motion. Whether wonderful or terrible, only time would tell. 3 days into deep space, Nathan's ship, Starseeker, drifted in the shadow of an uninhabited ice giant. He'd chosen this remote location carefully, far from major shipping lanes and corporate surveillance. The mysterious pod sat in his cargo hold, its energy readings growing stronger by the hour. "Sir," Reese's hologram flickered to life beside him. "The artifact's temporal signature has increased by 300% in the last hour. Current readings exceed all known parameters." Nathan stood before the pod, studying the flowing patterns that had become more pronounced since their departure from Helio Station. "Show me the internal scans again." A holographic display materialized, showing the pod's interior. The image was distorted, but he could make out a chamber filled with what appeared to be crystalline fluid, and within it, a humanoid form. "Life signs are stabilizing," Reese reported. "The suspended animation system appears to be deactivating systematically. I strongly advise implementing quarantine protocols." Before Nathan could respond, the pod's surface began to pulse with brilliant blue light. The flowing patterns accelerated, merging into streams of energy that coursed across the metal like rivers of starlight. "Containment field activated," Reese announced, as transparent barriers sprang up around the pod. "Sir, you should really step back. The pod's surface dissolved like morning mist, the crystalline fluid within evaporating instantly. The figure inside began to fall forward, and Nathan moved without thinking, diving through the containment field to catch her. She was light in his arms, her skin a pale opalescent blue that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Her features were striking, almost human, but with an ethereal quality that made his breath catch. Her eyes opened, revealing irises that swirled with colors like distant nebulae. "The awakening is complete," she said in perfect standard, her voice musical and strange. "You have claimed the heritage, Guardian." "I'm Nathan Pierce," he said, helping her stand. "And I'm not sure what heritage you're talking about." She studied him with those cosmic eyes. "I am Selene of the Luminarii, last keeper of the Star Weave." "And you?" She touched his chest lightly, "Have awakened me from a sleep of 10,000 years." "Sir," Reese interrupted, "multiple ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Energy signatures match Horizon Foundation vessels." Nathan cursed. Of course Lyra Voss wouldn't give up so easily. "We need to move. Can you dash?" Celine's hand was still on his chest, and suddenly his mind exploded with images, vast cities of crystal and light, ships that sailed on solar winds, beings of pure energy dancing between the stars. He saw great wars that burned constellations from the sky, and a desperate plan to preserve something precious beyond measure. The Starweave cannot fall into their hands, Celine said urgently. The power to reshape reality itself, your people are not ready. 5 ships approaching, Reese reported. They're charging weapons. The heritage flows through your blood now, Guardian, Celine gripped Nathan's arms. I can teach you to use it, but you must choose quickly. Once the bond is formed, there is no returning to what you were. Nathan's head spun with alien memories and impossible choices. Through the viewport, he could see the Horizon ships closing in, their weapons primed. Whatever he'd stumbled into was far bigger than rare artifacts and corporate rivalries. Sir, Reese's voice was urgent. Decision required. Celine waited, those stellar eyes fixed on his face. In them, he saw the weight of millennia, the last guardian of an ancient power seeking someone worthy to share it with. Teach me, he said. Celine smiled, and the universe seemed to brighten. She pressed her palm flat against his chest, and Nathan felt something flow between them, power unlike anything he'd imagined, the essence of stars themselves burning through his veins. The first shots from the Horizon ships struck their shields. Through the new awareness blooming in his mind, Nathan could feel the weapon's energy, could sense how to reshape it, redirect it. The heritage is yours, Celine whispered. Now show them what a guardian can do. Nathan raised his hands, watching in awe as stellar fire danced between his fingers. Through the viewport, the Horizon ships loomed closer, unaware that they were no longer hunting a simple salvage thief, but had instead found something that would change the course of human history forever. The real question was, would that change bring enlightenment, or destruction? As power coursed through him and alien knowledge filled his mind, Nathan realized he might soon have to decide the fate of not just himself, but all of humanity. And somewhere in the depths of space, other ancient powers were stirring, drawn to the awakening of the last Luminarii and her chosen guardian. Energy cascaded from Nathan's fingertips, transforming the void around their ship into a web of stellar fire. The Horizon Foundation vessels scattered, their tactical formations breaking as reality itself seemed to warp around them. Remarkable, Celine observed, her opalescent skin glowing brighter. Your natural affinity for the Starweave exceeds my expectations. Nathan gritted his teeth, maintaining the energy field. I don't suppose the Luminarii left an instruction manual for all this? The knowledge flows through our bond, she replied, placing her hand over his. Immediately, the chaotic energy stabilized, forming intricate patterns that reminded him of the pod's surface. But there are darker forces awakening. The Horizon Foundation is merely the first. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Reese announced. Unknown configuration, sir, they're not human vessels. Dark shapes emerged from hyperspace, ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their hulls were organic, writhing with what looked like living shadow. The Void Hunters, Celine whispered, her voice tight with ancient fear. They followed my awakening signal. Friends of yours? They hunted my people to near extinction, she said. The Void Hunters believe the Starweave should be destroyed, that no species should wield such power. She turned to him, her nebula eyes intense. They will not show mercy, Guardian. The shadow ships opened fire, their weapons launching streams of what looked like liquid darkness. Where they struck, space itself seemed to decay. Reese, full power to engines. Nathan commanded, channeling the Starweave's energy into their shields. The darkness splashed against barriers of living light. Their weapons are unmaking the fabric of reality, Celine explained, her hands moving in complex patterns. The Void Hunters use anti-creation itself as their weapon. Of course they do, Nathan muttered. Because regular weapons would be too simple. The Horizon ships, apparently deciding that unknown alien threats warranted a temporary alliance, began firing on the Void Hunters. Their advanced weapons seemed to have little effect on the Shadowhold vessels. The heritage gives us one advantage, Celine said. We can create. They can only destroy. She guided Nathan's hands through a series of gestures. The starweave responded, and suddenly space around them bloomed with miniature stars, hundreds of them, each burning with impossible colors. The stars remember their first makers, Celine whispered. Let them remember how to dance. The newborn stars began to move, weaving between the ships in complex patterns. Where they touched the Void Hunter's vessels, darkness gave way to light. Several of the shadow ships recoiled, their organic hulls writhing in apparent pain. They're retreating, Reese reported. But the Horizon fleet is regrouping. We cannot fight both, Celine said. The heritage is still awakening within you. Full manifestation will take time. Nathan felt the truth of her words. The power flowing through him was intoxicating, but already he could feel fatigue setting in. Suggestions? There is a place, Celine said. A sanctuary my people created in the heart of a dying star. We can dash. Her words cut off as a new ship dropped out of hyperspace, larger than the others, its hull gleaming with familiar flowing patterns. Another Luminaria vessel? Nathan asked. Impossible, Celine breathed. I was the last. The ship broadcast on all frequencies, its message echoing through their minds more than their comm systems. Last daughter of light, your exile ends. Return to us, and your guardian may yet be spared. Celine's face went pale, her inner light dimming. No, they were all dead. I watched them die. Care to fill me in? Nathan asked, maintaining their defenses as both the Horizon ships and the remaining Void Hunters held position, seemingly as confused by this new arrival as they were. The Ascended, Celine whispered. Those of my people who chose to transcend physical form. They believed the starweave should be used to force all life to evolve, to ascend whether they wished to or not. Her hands trembled. We fought them, we died fighting them. And now they want you back, Nathan said. Why? Because I carry the pure form of the heritage, she met his eyes. Untainted by their madness. With it, they could complete their great work, the forced ascension of all living things. The massive ship pulsed with power, and Nathan felt something vast and cold touch his mind. You are nothing, a voice whispered. Asterisk a primitive vessel for power you cannot comprehend. Give her to us, and we will show you true transcendence, asterisk. Nathan felt Celine's hand find his, warm and very much alive. In that touch was everything that made existence precious, joy, fear, hope, love, all the things the Ascended had abandoned in their quest for perfection. What do you want to do? He asked her. Celine squared her shoulders, her inner light blazing defiantly. I choose life, Guardian. In all its beautiful imperfection. Good answer. Nathan grinned, drawing on the last reserves of his newfound power. Reese, plot a course through that debris field. We're about to do something very stupid. My favorite kind of plan, Reese replied, as their ship dove into the chaos, pursued by forces that could unmake reality itself. The true war for the future of all life was about to begin. The Starseeker tumbled through the debris field, ancient starship fragments spinning past like metallic snowflakes. Behind them, the massive Ascended vessel carved through space with inexorable purpose, its energy weapons transforming debris into pure light. Hull integrity at 47%, Reese reported. The Starweave shield matrix is destabilizing. Nathan felt each impact like a physical blow. The heritage power within him had settled into a steady burn, but using it was becoming harder, like trying to lift weights with exhausted muscles. Please tell me this stupid plan of ours has a second part. The sanctuary, Celine said, her hands pressed against the ship's walls, feeding power into their failing shields. We're almost there. Through the debris field, Nathan caught glimpses of something impossible, a star that shouldn't exist. It hung in space like a frozen explosion, its surface a network of crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. The last forge, Celine explained. Where my people learn to weave the fabric of creation itself. Its power could restore your connection to the heritage, or destroy us all. Incoming transmission, Reese announced. The cold voice of the Ascended filled their minds again. Asterisk, the forge is forbidden, last daughter. You know the price of awakening its power, asterisk. The price of letting you win would be higher, Celine replied. Her nebula eyes met Nathan's. Do you trust me? Considering the alternative is godlike energy beings who want to force evolve the universe. Yeah, I trust you. She smiled, and for a moment the power of stars seemed dim compared to the light in her eyes. Then take us in. Nathan directed their battered ship toward the crystalline star. As they drew closer, he could see that the structures on its surface were actually cities, vast complexes of living crystal that somehow survived in the heart of a sun. The ascended vessel fired, its beam of pure transcendent energy cutting through space toward them. Nathan reached out with the heritage, trying to deflect it, but his power was nearly exhausted. Then Celine was there, her hands over his, and the beam split around them like water around a stone. The forge recognizes its children, she said. Even after all these millennia. They plunged into the star's corona, but instead of incineration, Nathan felt a surge of energy unlike anything he'd experienced. The crystalline structures reached for them with threads of light, guiding them into a vast chamber that seemed to exist somewhere between normal space and pure energy. Welcome to the sanctuary, Celine said softly. The heart of my people's civilization. The chamber stretched for what seemed like miles, its crystal walls containing what looked like frozen moments of time, battles between light and darkness, the birth of stars, the first awakening of consciousness in countless species. The library of creation, Celine explained. All that my people learned, all that we hope to preserve, it's all here. And now it will be cleansed. The cold voice manifested as a figure of pure light, humanoid but twisted into something that hurt Nathan's eyes to look at. Behind it, more ascended beings emerged from the crystal walls. You abandoned our purpose, the first ascended said. The great work must continue. All life must be uplifted, whether they choose it or not. That's not uplift, Celine shot back. It's tyranny. You would strip away everything that makes life precious in pursuit of your perfect evolution. The heritage was meant to guide creation, not control it, Nathan added, feeling power from the forge flowing into him, restoring his connection to the star weave. You've forgotten what you were meant to protect. The ascended being's form flickered with what might have been anger. What does a primitive understand of protection? Your species still wars among itself, pollutes its worlds, clings to physical form like animals. We choose our path, Nathan said. That's what you can't stand, isn't it? That we might choose differently than you. Enough. The Ascended's form expanded, filling the chamber with blinding light. The heritage will be purified. The great work will continue. But Nathan felt something else now, not just the power of the star weave, but the living history contained in the crystal walls. He saw the luminariae as they had been before the Ascended's madness, creatures of light and wonder who had chosen to guide rather than control, to protect rather than dominate. The heritage remembers, Celine said, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. The forge remembers. Will you remember who you once were, brothers and sisters? Will you remember why we chose to guard creation rather than rule it? The chamber filled with echoes of ancient songs, the crystal walls resonating with memories of what the luminariae had been. For a moment, Nathan saw uncertainty ripple through the Ascended's perfect forms. Then the first Ascended struck, its power tearing through the chamber like a supernova. The past is weakness. We are beyond such things. Nathan reached for Celine's hand as reality itself began to bend around them. The final battle for the future of life itself was about to begin, and somehow he knew that victory would require more than just power, it would require them to prove that imperfect, messy, chosen life was worth preserving. The forge's crystal walls pulsed with ancient power, and the universe held its breath. The last forge shuddered as powers beyond comprehension clashed within its crystalline heart. Nathan stood with Celine at the center of the maelstrom, their joined hands channeling the pure heritage against the corrupted might of the Ascended. Your resistance is meaningless, the lead Ascended being pulsed with blinding light. We have transcended the weaknesses of choice. We are perfection. Perfection, Nathan spat, deflecting a beam of pure energy that would have unmade them at the atomic level. Is that what you call this? Forcing your will on every living thing? The chamber's crystal walls cracked under the strain, ancient memories bleeding into reality. Nathan saw glimpses of the war that had nearly destroyed the Luminarii, brother against sister, parent against child, all in the name of progress. You understand nothing, the Ascended's voice rippled through their minds. We see the pattern of creation itself. All things move toward ascension. We merely accelerate the process. You're right, Celine said quietly. We do see the pattern. Her nebula eyes met Nathan's. Show them what you showed me, Guardian. Show them what they've forgotten. Nathan understood. Drawing on the Forge's power, he reached out not with energy or force, but with something the Ascended had abandoned long ago, empathy. Through his connection to the heritage, he shared what he'd felt since meeting Celine, the joy of discovery, the thrill of choice, the beauty of imperfection. He showed them a child's first laugh, a poet's tears, a scientist's moment of breakthrough. He showed them love and loss, triumph and failure, all the messy glory of chosen life. This is what you destroy, he said. Not weakness, the very thing that makes existence worth experiencing. The Ascended recoiled, their perfect forms wavering. These are irrelevant data points. The pattern dash. The pattern is life itself, Celine interrupted. And life cannot be forced into perfection. It must choose its path. She squeezed Nathan's hand. As I chose him. As he chose me. The Forge's crystal walls began to sing, resonating with the truth of their words. The heritage power flowing through them wasn't just energy now, it was a reminder of what the Luminarii had once been, before their obsession with perfection had twisted them. Remember, Celine called to the Ascended. Remember joy. Remember love. Remember choice. The chamber filled with echoes of ancient memories, Luminarii dancing among newborn stars, guiding young civilizations with gentle hands, celebrating the infinite diversity of life. The lead Ascended's form flickered violently. No, we transcended, we evolved. You ran away, Nathan said. From pain, from doubt, from all the things that make us real. But evolution without choice isn't evolution at all. It's just programming. Power surged through the Forge as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The Ascended hung suspended, perfect forms trembling as long-buried memories surfaced. Then, slowly, the first Ascended began to change. Its blinding light softened, taking on colors that swirled like galaxies being born. Others followed, their transcendent forms becoming something new, neither purely energy nor purely physical, but a bridge between states. We, remember, the first Ascended said, its voice now holding echoes of music. We forgot, so much. Celine stepped forward, still holding Nathan's hand. Then help us rebuild. Not as controllers of life, but as its guardians. As we were meant to be. The transformed Ascended gathered around them, their light now warm rather than searing. The heritage was never meant to force evolution, they acknowledged. It was meant to protect the right to choose it. So what happens now? Nathan asked, feeling the power of the Forge settling into a new pattern around them. Celine smiled, her inner light pulsing in harmony with the renewed Luminarii. Now, my guardian, we do what my people should have done from the beginning. We watch. We guide when asked. And most importantly. She pulled him closer, her nebula eyes filled with joy, we live. The last Forge's crystal walls hummed with new purpose as ancient knowledge was rewritten. Not as a weapon to force transcendence, but as a library of possibilities, open to any species ready to choose their own path toward the stars. Outside, the crystalline star pulsed with renewed energy, sending a signal across the galaxy. Not a call to forceful ascension, but an invitation to grow, to choose, to evolve in whatever way each form of life saw fit. Nathan looked at Celine, seeing in her eyes the same wonder he'd felt when he first touched the heritage. Ready to guard creation properly this time? With you? She laughed, the sound like starlight given voice. I choose that path gladly. Together they stood in the heart of the forge, guardian and keeper, watching as the galaxy awakened to new possibilities. The war was over, but the real adventure, letting life choose its own destiny, was just beginning. And somewhere in the vast depths of space, a child looked up at the stars and dreamed of what she might become, knowing that the choice would always be hers to make.